to have a chat about strategies for teaching a sun salutation in an all levels class effectively. Sun salutations are really about movement, really about flow. And what's lovely about that is that we're cueing the breath and getting students to feel their breath in their bodies. And what's challenging about that is that there's not a lot of time to cue alignment or to help stabilize students or to cue options. So what's a yogi to do? So here are some of my strategies for teaching sun salutations safely and effectively in an all levels class. So like an all levels hatha class where you might use sun salutations, or an all levels flow or power class. So number one, first thing I do, I teach it slow first. So the first sun salutation or the first two sun salutations that I do when I'm teaching, I always break them down and I do kind of like the most accessible options. So it's something that pretty much anyone who's healthy generally would be able to do in a class. So for example, the first time through will look a little something like this. And sorry, you're gonna lose my arms here. So Tadasana, and you choose feet hip distance apart or feet together. For an all levels class to be really accessible, I would say feet hip distance for the majority of practitioners. I'd say, okay, inhale, so I'm always cueing the breath. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, soften your knees and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, heart forward. As you exhale, plant your hands, step back into a high push-up position, plank. From here, I like to have everyone lower their knees down, although as a sneaky little trick, I have them hover their knees off the floor first. I hold them there. It's a little mean. But what this does is it helps them fire up their core so that they feel more connected to the center of their body. So I might have them hover their knees and then I say, all right, everybody feels their core. Now keep that connection to your core. Lightly lower your knees down. Exhale, reach your chest forward, lower all the way down to the floor. So the first time through, I bring everyone down onto their bellies. Stretch their toes back. Teach them to lengthen their tailbone here to protect their low back. And then inhale into baby cobra. And I might even say here, here's baby cobra. This can be your option for all of your sun salutations. We really want to move the back bend into the upper back. Exhale back, downward facing dog, right? Then we hang out in downward facing dog for about 5 breaths. At the end of the exhale, walk or step your feet forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Soften your knees. Inhale, rise all the way up to stand, arms to the sky. Exhale, hands by your side. So that might be my first sun salutation where I've really broken everything down and given the most accessible options. Now on the second time through, I'll add in some more advanced variations for students who are ready to take those. Inhale, reach your arms up, soften your knees, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, plant your hands. Exhale, step back into plank. Exhale, lower all the way down to the mat. Stretch your toes back, engage your core. Inhale, baby cobra. You can choose to stay here or press your hands down, straighten your arms, lift your hips, upward facing dog. Soften the elbows, draw the upper arm bones back. So on the second time through, or if it's an advanced class, you may even do that on the first time through, I will distinguish the options for the back bends. My preference for sun salutations is either baby cobra or up dog. I'm not such a fan of cobra, big cobra, in a sun salutation because I feel like there's too much opportunity to disengage. So let me just break this down for a moment. So when we're doing our sun salutations, baby cobra is really nice because they have to lift their upper back and their low ribs stay on the floor so they can't go too much into their lumbar. In up dog, I have to use my legs. If I press my feet down, draw my arm bones back, it's a strong pose. But if students start doing just cobra, which is here, it's like there's so much opportunity to just like poop out, go into the low back, and really just be all in kind of like this noodly flexible place. And in the sun salutations, we're trying to get people warm and trying to get them energized. So my personal preference is either baby cobra or up dog. I don't really like just big old cobra as an in-between. My preference. All right, and then up and back, downward facing dog. Now here's a little trick for this next transition. So we take however many breaths in down dog, usually it's around 5. What I cue my students is at the end of your exhale, The end of your exhale, walk or step or jump, you can say float, jump your feet forward. And the reason I do that at the end of the exhale, and then when they get to the front, they inhale, halfway lift, is because at the end of the exhale, the abdominals engage, the core engages, the pelvic floor lifts. We have a little bit more core support. So when they're stepping and eventually jumping forward, that core support is going to help to create that lightness to the front of the mat. But it is a little bit of a tricky cue. Downward facing dog. At the end of your exhale, walk or step or jump your feet forward to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. So that helps to prepare them for that core engagement that they're going to need eventually to find that floating jump back to the front of the mat. Much harder to find that if they're inhaling as they do it. Much easier to do on an exhale or when the breath is held. So we come back, inhale, halfway lift, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, take your arms to the sky. Exhale, hands by your side. So to put it together, number one, I break down the first sun salutation in order to offer all the most accessible options. Number two, I make a distinction where I actually teach them the difference between baby cobra and up dog and kind of get them to do that. Number three, at the end of the exhale, I have them draw their core in and then come forward and then inhale to that halfway lift. So in terms of teaching sun salutations, when I'm putting it together, the way that it's going to sound and look is the following. So this is how I would do it. Once I've kind of broken down all their poses, given them the things to do, this is how I would cue it. You ready? All right, you can do it with me if you like. Okay, from Tadasana. Inhale, reach your arms forward and up. Soften your knees. Exhale, forward fold. As you inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, step or jump halfway or all the way down, chaturanga or to the floor. Inhale into your back bend, baby cobra or up dog. As you exhale, lift up and back, downward facing dog. Stay for 5 breaths. And once you have them in down dog, this is a great time to give them some cues, like root into the inner edges of your hands, wrap your outer arms in, pull the tops of your thigh bones back to stretch your spine, lift your thighs up as you sink your heels down, all that good stuff. At the end of your next exhale, walk, step, or jump your feet to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Soften your knees. Inhale, rise all the way up to stand. Reach your arms to the sky. Exhale, hands by your side. So you can see embedded into my sun salutation script, I thread in the options, jump or step back, lower down, halfway, or all the way. So I'm including my multi-stages for poses within the fabric of the sun salutation. One more bonus tip. In a sun salutation, as you know, we don't have a lot of opportunity to cue a lot because we got to keep the flow of the breath. We got to keep the pacing, the metronome going. So what I like to do is for most of the transitions, or for transitions where there may be a little bit of a risk factor, like you heard me say, probably soften your knees kind of thing, maybe just one little alignment cue. Maybe we can sneak one in there. For example, to soften your knees, reach your arms all the way up. Or when they're stepping or jumping back, chaturanga, keep your chest wide as you lower halfway or all the way down. Again, just a little tiny cue to help remind students what kind of the safety factor is that they might need to think about. When they're going into their back bend, you might say, anchor your tailbone as you inhale into your back bend. But really, friends, that's all we've got time for. If we can get one little alignment stabilizing cue in there during transitions, then seriously, we're doing a pro job. So there it is. There are my thoughts for helping you to teach sun salutations, a tricky business in an all levels class. So just remembering, number one, break the first couple down so you can really teach them. 2, teach them the back bend transitions and their options. That's going to be super, super helpful. Number 3, that little trick, it's a small thing, but that little exhale to the end in down dog and then walk step forward, that really helps your students find that particular transition. And then remember, number 4, or your bonus tip, is that you really only have time to kind of sneak in 1 or 2 alignment cues maximum in each transition. So just do the best you can. And also, just one last little teacher tip. If I am demonstrating the sun salutations for my class, Demonstration should be used sparingly, but if you have a lot of new students and so you're giving them a physical representation of what's going on, as the teacher, demonstrate the easiest version of the Sun Salutations. Demonstrate the most accessible version, because your students who know how to do the more advanced versions like up dog and jumping forward, they're going to know how to do that. But it's the beginners who are going to be watching you, and they're the ones who are going to need to know the more accessible versions of each posture. So there you go. There are some tips for teaching Sun Salutations. Any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will see you on the mat.